What if I told you the most feared pirate of the Caribbean didn't just die in battle? He was hunted, trapped by the very system he thought he could outsmart. This isn't the story of a man caught by chance. It's the story of how power, politics, and paranoia ended the life of Edward Teach, better known as Blackbeard, in one of the bloodiest sea battles of the 1700s. Welcome to My History Bites, where we uncover the hidden truths and untold moments from history that most textbooks skip. If you love stories that twist reality into legend, make sure to subscribe, because today we're diving deep into the dark truth behind Blackbeard's death. Section 1. The Rise of a Monster. Before the legend fell, he had to be born. By 1718, the Caribbean feared one name above all others: Blackbeard. Standing well over 6 feet tall, his beard tangled and tied with smoldering fuses, his very appearance was designed to terrify. Sailors whispered that he was the devil himself, an immortal spirit who thrived in gunpowder and chaos. But behind the smoke and showmanship was a brilliant tactician. Blackbeard commanded the Queen Anne's Revenge, a captured French warship armed with 40 guns, and a crew that followed him with near religious loyalty. He didn't always fight. Sometimes he'd simply blockade ports until merchants paid up, knowing fear alone could fill his hold with gold. Yet even for a pirate king, the game couldn't last forever. Governments were tightening their grip. Naval patrols grew stronger, and for Blackbeard, the walls were closing in. But rather than vanish, he made a move so audacious that it changed his fate forever. And that's where the trouble began. Section 2. The Pardon That Wasn't a Pardon. In June 1718, Blackbeard surprised everyone. He sailed to Bathtown, North Carolina, and accepted the king's pardon, a royal decree offering forgiveness to any pirate who surrendered. On paper, it looked like repentance. In reality, it was strategy. He charmed Governor Charles Eden, convincing him he was ready to settle down. But only weeks later, locals reported mysterious ships slipping into hidden coves, trade goods being confiscated, and barrels of sugar and rum being sold under the table. Rumors spread that Blackbeard was running a pirate business under government protection, and that Eden was either paid off or too scared to act. If that's true, Blackbeard wasn't just a pirate, he was running one of the first black market cartels in colonial America. But word travels fast across the colonies, and soon another man had heard the stories: Alexander Spotswood, the governor of Virginia. And Spotswood had no intention of letting North Carolina's pet pirate make him look weak. He decided to make an example of Blackbeard, even if it meant bending the law himself. Section 3. The Trap at Ocracoke. On November 21st, 1718, 2 small British sloops, Ranger and Jane, slipped quietly through the fog toward Ocracoke Inlet, where Blackbeard's ship lay anchored. The mission was unofficial. Governor Spotswood hadn't bothered to get approval from North Carolina or the Crown. He simply wanted Blackbeard dead. Commanding the attack was Lieutenant Robert Maynard, a man known for precision and patience. He had fewer men, smaller ships, and no cannons powerful enough to match the pirates. But he had a plan. At dawn, the sloops crept closer. The tide was low, and one of Maynard's vessels grounded on a sandbar. Blackbeard saw the commotion and laughed, thinking it was easy prey. He ordered his men to attack. But what he didn't know was that Maynard's crew was hiding below deck, muskets ready. When the smoke cleared, the ambush would turn into one of the bloodiest duels in pirate history. Section 4. The Final Battle, Blood and Gunpowder. As Blackbeard's ship closed in, his men unleashed a broadside, shredding Maynard's rigging and killing several sailors instantly. The air filled with gunpowder and splinters. Maynard, realizing he couldn't outgun him, played the one card he had left: deception. He ordered the surviving crew to hide below deck. When Blackbeard boarded, he found what looked like a ghost ship, silent, empty, seemingly defeated. That's when Maynard gave the signal. His men burst from the hatches, pistols blazing. What followed was chaos. Swords clashed, muskets fired point blank, and smoke engulfed the deck. Blackbeard, wielding his cutlass, cut down one man after another. Witnesses said he fought like a beast, ignoring wounds that would have killed anyone else. He was shot 5 times and cut 20, yet still refused to fall. He cornered Maynard himself, slashing his sword so hard it snapped the lieutenant's blade in half. Maynard struck back with a pistol shot that tore through Blackbeard's neck, and still the pirate kept fighting. It took nearly 10 men to bring him down. When he finally fell, his body hit the deck with a sound sailors never forgot. But even death didn't end the terror. Section 5. The Trophy Head. After the battle, Maynard's men counted 5 bullet wounds, 20 severe cuts, and at least a dozen lesser slashes on Blackbeard's body. They tossed it overboard, but legend says it didn't sink right away. Some swore it swam around the ship 3 times before vanishing beneath the waves. Superstition or not, the message was clear. This was no ordinary pirate. Maynard severed Blackbeard's head and hung it from the bowsprit of his ship as proof of victory. When they returned to Virginia, the head was nailed to a post at the mouth of the Hampton River, a grisly warning to anyone who still dreamed of the Jolly Roger. But for many, it felt less like justice and more like vengeance. Spotswood had authorized a cross-border execution without trial, and Eden's supporters whispered that the whole operation was nothing short of state-sponsored murder. And that controversy only deepened the mystery surrounding Blackbeard's final days. Section 6. Myths, Rumors, and the Missing Treasure. For centuries, people have chased the myths that sprouted from that day. Some claim Blackbeard's treasure still lies buried somewhere along the Carolina coast, possibly near Bath or Ocracoke, but nothing has ever been found. Others insist his skull was turned into a silver-rimmed drinking goblet, passed secretly through Virginia families as a morbid heirloom. There are even tales that his ghost still haunts Ocracoke Inlet, appearing as a flicker of fire under the waves. But beneath the folklore lies a quieter, more unsettling truth. Blackbeard didn't die because he was outnumbered. He died because he misread power. He believed he could manipulate the colonial governors like he manipulated his enemies at sea. He thought his legend was strong enough to shield him. But legends have a way of outgrowing their creators, and once that happens, they become dangerous to everyone, even the ones who made them. So what was the dark truth behind Blackbeard's death? It wasn't the musket balls or even Maynard's blade. It was the web of politics, greed, and pride that turned the pirate's own myth against him. By the time the first shot rang out at Ocracoke, his fate was already sealed. He'd become too powerful for the colonies to ignore, and too unpredictable for his allies to protect. His death wasn't just an end, it was a message. The age of pirates was over, and the age of empire had begun. Even now, 3 centuries later, his legend refuses to sink. His name still echoes through the waves, a warning and a promise that freedom always comes at a price. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of history's darkest sea battles, subscribe to my History Bites and ring the bell so you never miss the secrets history tried to bury. And tell me in the comments, what pirate myth or lost story should we uncover next? Because out here on the high seas of history, nothing stays buried forever.